Hello everyone, it's finally time for me to stitch the top right corner. I've been talking about it all vlog long, and now it's time to actually do it, except that my cushion of my chair is falling off. So let's do some quick adjustments. We're out on the balcony again today, so you'll probably hear some noises from the accompanying wildlife, but hopefully not too bad. And now I will get stitching. So hopefully my camera will hold, or my camera stand will hold. Otherwise you will suddenly see a change in angle. I'll put a little bit of light on so I can see what I'm doing. I've just gone to all this trouble of setting up my camera, and now I think I want to move the piece a little bit closer to me. Hang on. Alright, there we go. It's a very auspicious start, eh? Even more auspiciously, I broke my... I nearly made a knot in my thread, but I've got thread, I've got a needle, I'm going to make the two be friends, and then I'm going to go for it. So, between my last video and now, I had a couple questions. One from Laurie Holmes, who asked, have you ever stitched a Marishka before? And I have not. I have unboxed one. I owned, before my haul, I owned two. I owned one of some robins in an evergreen, nesting in an evergreen, and one of a fox in a meadow full of flowers, which is very gorgeous. And I actually opened up the robins one, which I don't normally do, just to see the difficulty and to see how it compared with a dimensions kit, the charts. And they were very similar, I think, levels of difficulty. Maybe slightly easier. I think we need to swap camera positions because I think my hand's going to be in the way. So, but thank you for your question, Laurie. Hopefully this is better. Not sure it's better for me because now the camera is like super in front of my face. I could stitch through the camera instead of through my eyeballs. But anyway, we're here. We did it. We're settled. So what was I going to... Oh yes, comments. And then I had one comment. Long story. What's happening to me here? Okay, hang on, you know what? Alright, so we're all in position now on the other side of the table. And what happened... Well, the problem with this side of the table is that it's actually underneath the gutter of the flat in front above us. And they have not cleaned out their gutter. So when it rains, it splatters down and into the balcony, and unfortunately splashes this cushion that I'm sat on now. So I had to give it a hoover before I was comfortable to sit on it. But we're all good now. We're all in position. And I think my hand is less in the way at least, so all good, all well that ends well and all that. But yes, I was talking about comments, and then Sharon Marie asked if I would ever consider making a card making video, because I've talked before that I really do enjoy making cards. They're quite fun, and it's a very creative and very messy process, but a very creative process. And I would absolutely, sure, I will include some card making in a future vlog. I'm not sure you'll learn anything from me because I am not the world's greatest card maker. I did only start this year, and I don't have any of the tools. I don't have an embossing folder, which I've learned is how you make shiny gold or shiny silver or shiny bits on cards. I would love to have one of those. I have a gold gel pen that I use. It sometimes works. And I don't have a die cut, which sounds like it's something that dyes stuff, but it actually isn't. It's a cutting machine that cuts in various different shapes. So you can have circles, you could have a giant hello shaped card, but for that you would need a die cut, and you can get them that work when you feed in shapes that literally like cookie cutters, or that work from files on the internet. And then of course you have to buy the files on the internet. But I don't have either of those, so I just have a pair of scissors and a bone folder, which isn't anything like it sounds like either. It is made of bone, but I think it's whale bone, and it's literally just like a knife-shaped thing that you can use to make folding cards. I have that, and some scissors and some glue and some double-sided tape and a lot of different coloured cards. And I also have some stamps, which is, I use clear stamps so you can see where you're putting them, and then you just dab them with ink and literally stamp them on, and it looks really good. Then you colour them in if you're brave. But I'm happy to show you guys my card making. And that was all the questions I had. So then I was going to talk about a question of my own. I'm going to ask myself a question. So I was going to ask myself, do I consider myself an introvert or an extrovert? I mean, I was going to discuss, I guess. I'm not asking myself. So in a one-word answer, I would call myself an introvert, but of course it's a lot more complicated than that. So let's start at the very beginning. For the beginning is a very good place to start. And talk about what being an introvert or an extrovert means. So someone who's an introvert or an extrovert, that means that an introvert, it costs them energy to interact with people. And so after they've been to a big meeting or a big party, they might need some hours of alone time to sort of like fill up their batteries again, you know, feel good again. And an extrovert is the opposite. So being alone drains them. And when they've been alone for too long, they need to go and spend some time with some people to recharge those batteries and feel alive again. It has nothing to do with whether you enjoy other people's company or whether you have general anxiety or social anxiety or anything like that. It's just about your energy levels. It's just about whether you essentially feel better when you're with people for a long period of time, or start to feel like you maybe need some alone time after you've been with people for a really long period of time. So I really enjoy being social. I enjoy being social a lot more than I previously would have admitted to myself. I enjoy both online social stuff with my friends, playing computer games is also a social activity I enjoy online. This vlog is a social activity I enjoy. And I really enjoy social events at like the office, for example. So when I go to the office, which I'm trying to do once a month, to see people, to have like businessy meetings and get business value out of seeing people face to face, but also to just kind of like have some social time. There's a knot here. You see it? To have some social time and like be socialized, I guess. Like you know when you buy a puppy and then you have to like socialize it, make sure that it's spending time with other dogs and with other humans. Well, this is my spending time with other dogs. And I would love to spend some time with actual dogs as well. I wish that was a thing for humans. But anyway, and I actually, up until recently, would have said I don't enjoy social events, but that I think is more tied to, one, they exhaust me. Like going to Stockholm for the day, I go immediately to bed, and then for like the rest of the week, I'm a bit knackered. But also, I find them very anxiety inducing, especially earlier. Now I'm 30 and I've been in therapy for a couple months. So I no longer feel the same as I used to do, but I used to feel as if, why would anyone spend any time with me? Like, why did they invite me? And I'd be second guessing myself all the time. And then like, am I too loud? Am I being too loud? Am I being too quiet? Am I being too boring? Am I trying to take too much of the spotlight? You know, constantly second guessing. Why people keep inviting me to things. And to be honest, I would say no so often because I was so uncomfortable with being invited, because I felt like people didn't like me, that I said no so often that people stopped inviting me, which is fair enough. Shout out to my friend here, David, who keeps inviting me to lunch, and I'm trying my best to say yes, so it's working out pretty good. We have team lunches with my old team. So I used to work for a company in the city where I currently live, which designed and built electrical vehicle chargers. And they still, you know, when they have a social lunch, they will occasionally invite me And it's really nice. It's really fun to kind of catch up with them, see how their lives are going, what they're up to. Yeah, it's really, really nice. And it also makes me feel so good, so liked, worthy of being liked or whatever, that they continue to invite me even though I left the company like a year ago now. But yeah, it's just so the short answer, which is I'm an introvert, doesn't really cover the fact that I do enjoy seeing people, and I'm very happy to plan things. I'm very happy to do unplanned stuff. Like if my friends text me and they're like, I don't have that many friends in the area, so I have David, and that's it. I have a couple of friends in Stockholm, and I have a friend in a neighbouring city. But actually, in my city, I have the lady who sells me cross-stitching supplies, who has to like me because I pay her money. And she's awesome though. And David, who technically lives in a different city but works in this one. So it's not like I'm a social butterfly. I certainly was more social before in London. During my first year of university, before stuff got dark and real, I was very social and had quite a big friend group. I had to drop out because of some of that dark and real stuff, and then I lost a lot of my friends because they didn't want to deal with me, which is fair enough, really. I think it happens to the best of us, right? But yeah, so that would be my answer to that question, is that I think one of my friends, or one of my previous flatmates, used to call me an extroverted introvert, which was like an introvert who still liked people. But he also didn't believe in depression, so we shouldn't take anything he says too seriously. I've just had to stop for a work truck to go over the speed bump, but I'm back now. So I think I mentioned during my vlog that I was working on it this weekend to move the shrimp over to the new aquarium. So I have 2 aquariums. I have one that I bought secondhand when I was just trying out the hobby for the first time. And then I have another aquarium that was a fair bit more money. But that's a really it's a really stylish thing to look at in the house. And then I spent a lot of time designing the wood and the plants that were going to go in. So it looks fairly good as well, in my opinion, of course. And so the shrimp was the only surviving member of the first aquarium gang, or however you want to call them. And he was just living on his own in a whole aquarium, and that was fine for me. It just meant that I had to do water changes on them both, but not too regularly, because the shrimp are a bit funny about water changes. They're very delicate creatures, and funny about the temperature too. And feed both aquariums, which is fine. I mean, it's a bit annoying, but it's whatever. But the filter on the small aquarium, the second-hand aquarium, which wasn't a second-hand filter, I bought that filter new, because the old filter killed one of my fish. Anyway, unrelated story. So the new filter started making really weird noises, and I think there's something caught in it, like some kind of air bubble or something, so I need to fix it. But I couldn't have it making weird noises because it was very distracting and very loud in the house. And it also was I didn't think it would be very good for the shrimp either. So I transferred the one shrimp, to my new fish tank. So now my new fish tank has 10 shrimp, 1 snail, Truman. 10 fish, 1 snail, who's called Truman, and 1 shrimp who doesn't have a name yet. So if you want to name my shrimp, suggestions are welcome. But he is safe. It took around 4 hours for me to transfer him. So catching him took 20 minutes, because I couldn't find him, because both my aquariums have live plants, and a significant amount of live plants. And then also I use driftwood to make them interesting, and then his aquarium had a bunch of moss, which I'd read that shrimps like to climb on and hide in, so I had handfuls of moss in the center of the aquarium to like help him feel safe, and then loads and loads and loads of floating plants. And I could not find him. And so I started moving things around. I got rid of all the moss, threw it away, got rid of all of the floating plants, threw those away. Started scrubbing the algae off the front of the glass, because usually when I do that, the shrimp shows up to eat the algae that I've just scraped off. But he didn't come out then either, and that just made the water really murky, so then I had to turn the filter on. Anyway, in the end, I started just removing plants and found him that way. And he was very unhappy. So I put him in my pink bucket, because I knew I have a grey bucket and a pink bucket, and I didn't want to lose him against the grey background because he's blue. So I put him in the pink bucket, and then I put some water from his tank in there as well. And then I jerry-rigged up. So I have when you change the water, you use that thing that you suck on the end of. You don't need to suck on the end of it, by the way. There are other techniques, but people mostly remember that from having it as a kid. But they sucked on the end, and then, it was a race, you or the water, whether you get a mouthful of aquarium water or whether you successfully start the process at all. Anyway, so I used that to drip water from the new aquarium, the water I just, changed out of the new aquarium, into his bucket to sort of get him stabilised between the two water quality levels. And I did that for 4 hours, and then I just scooped him up in a net because he had nowhere to hide, and bobbed him in. And then when I bobbed him in, he did not want to let go of the net. I was doing everything to try and get him to go and explore the new tank, and he was so not into it at all. And then as soon as he was in, I turned off the lights on the aquarium, not in the house, so that those fish wouldn't be stressed, because it's quite a lot of coming and going and to and fro and binging and banging. But he's still there now. It's Tuesday night, and I've spotted him. He's still alive, so that's good. And I feel really good about my decision to move him over, even though it was a bit scary. So the shrimp is happy, the fish look happy, and the snail has also been spotted and looks very healthy. So the aquarium is doing very well. Just turning on the light because the sun has in fact gone in. So that was a big part of my Sunday, was fixing that up. And sort of a lot of energy went into that. I have quite highly regimented downtime, because I have so many goals, get to 50 to 60% on this, for example, but also writing goals, exercising goals. Gonna wait for the work truck to go past. Thanks, work truck. So for example, I had goals to go and exercise. I also had a goal to do the card making, which I did, and to clean the house, which was a lot of energy on Saturday, was spent cleaning the house. And to fix some trousers, which in the end I did not do because I was just exhausted. So I just decided to stitch instead. What else happened this week? Oh, I tried to go horse riding. I was emailing the riding school back and forth, and they said the language barrier will be no problem, just sign up on the website for this course going at this time. And I said, no problem, will do. And then I went on the website and made an account, and then it said choose, what you want to do, what courses you want to go on, and I picked like Q to ride or something, and then submit, and it said, oh, there's been an internal error. There's something went wrong, try again later type thing. So I decided to try again later, which was not later this Sunday, it was today, on my to-do list again. But this morning I got a bill from the riding centre for $700, I think. So I've emailed them and I've said, like, take me off whatever this is, I'm not paying it. Like, whatever happened here, no. So we'll see what they say, what they come back with. I'm presuming I pressed the wrong button and I've like signed up a horse. You know, I've bought a horse or something accidentally. But, yeah. I just want to try riding. I don't want to be spending that much money on it. I'm sorry about all the noise from the passing cars, by the way. It's a really beautiful sunny day here, so I guess everyone is taking advantage of it as the sun sort of goes down. It's about 8:30 p.m. Oh no, I lost my thread. It's about 8:30 p.m. and I've lost a thread. I'm actually gonna neaten up my thread because I've got that thing where one's longer than the other, and that's why I lost my thread. I don't really like that. I don't normally cut them off mid unless they start to annoy me, but it makes it harder to kind of see the length that you need. I don't know why that happens either. I always start in the middle, but clearly I have a lean to me. Speaking of aquariums we had as children, when I was a kid, my dad bought me an aquarium and a couple goldfish, which actually probably was like a very reasonable choice. Although nowadays I wouldn't do that because goldfish don't like all the bright coloured, you know, different coloured gravel, and there's like need to have quite a lot of water to be safe and a filter and stuff. We had a filter. But we also thought, you know, the advice at the time was just, it was incorrect. It would be things like when you've got to change the water once a month or whatever, maybe once a quarter, but you've got to change 100% of the water. So like take the fish out and put them in a bucket, and then take all the water out and replace all the water again, and then put them back. Like, that's no longer the advice, but that was the advice that we were given. But we had a terrible time with pets, my dad and I. So we didn't know anything about fish handling, and this was it wasn't before Google, but it was before Google and YouTube are what they are now. So we were like reading the reference books from the library or whatever, like little pamphlets from Pets at Home. But we bought some fish, or my dad bought some fish to like supplement the fish that we had, and they must have been diseased or something because the next morning all our fish were dead. So that was unfun. We also had hamsters. They actually survived for a long time. None of our hamsters died tragically, so that was good. But we did lose one once in the back garden. So we had a rabbit hutch for some reason. We didn't have rabbits at the time, but we had a rabbit hutch. So I used to put the hamster in the rabbit hutch to, you know, have a bit more space to play while we were changing its bedding, as you do. And what was I going to say? Oh yes, and it escaped through the chicken wire that was on the rabbit hutch. Because if you don't know, hamsters are, well, they're a lot smaller than rabbits. I think everyone knows that. But they're also like 70-80% fur. Like, they look really fluffy and big, but they're like little scrawny things underneath. So cute though. And it escaped, and so it was in the garden, and I was very upset. My dad was looking for it and he failed. And then it's his favourite story about me, because when I'd finished crying, had my cry out, I set up a trap like a jar with some nuts at the bottom of it at an angle. And then I said, if we don't catch it, can we buy another one? So my dad was not very pleased by that. By my unfeeling behaviour towards this poor hamster I'd lost in the back garden. Anyway, we did find the hamster. That's why this is a fun story and not a tragic story. It just showed up one day, long after we'd given up on the jars, maybe a couple of days later. It didn't show up in the jar, it just showed up in the rabbit hutch again, it let itself back into the rabbit hutch. And my dad claims that it's because it had had enough of living rough and wanted its peanuts back. We used to do all sorts of that hamster. We used to go on, if we went on a walk, we'd bring it back bits of, wild grass or whatever, wash it and then feed it to the hamster as a little treat. And we taught them to climb the stairs. So in England, I'm not sure how it is in America, but in England often every room in the house is carpeted, even the stairs. So it would climb up by clawing its way up the stairs, and then it would get treats. I also used to do video mazes. So you remember video cassettes, those big bulky black things. I used to set them up in squares around the living room, and then set the hamster at one end and put a treat on the other, and then try and stop the hamsters from just pushing over the VHS tapes to get to the treat in the middle. So that they had to go around. And we also had one of those big plastic storage boxes full of straw and hay, and sand and torn newspaper, so that they could dig around and actually make burrows if they wanted to, and stuff like that. Which were all really fun for me as a kid. And also cardboard tubes, that we used to get them out and play with them in the living room, and give them kitchen roll tubes, cardboard tubes from that, to go up and down and up and down. They loved it. They were great pets. They loved being with us, I think, and we loved having them. Although they don't live very long, hamsters, but a couple years. So we had Scrangy, was our first, and then I forget what the other one was called. Snowflake, I think. I went through a period, or I still am in the period of, I broke it with Truman, the first time in my life, of calling all my pets with names with S's. But that was my tradition with my dad. So we had Snowflake, Starfall, Snowy, Scrangy, a couple others. They were usually snow themed. And then when I came here, I had Squall and Spill, were my two better fish, before I realised that I can't emotionally handle the death of a better fish. So we've moved on to a couple more fish than we had before. But so Scrangy and Sponge, maybe? I don't remember. Were our two hamsters. And they were great. And then I can't remember how we got the guinea pigs. I think we might have bought them. But we had the rabbit hutch, and then we got guinea pigs, 3 of them, from the same place. And it was just a pet store, and they were white guinea pigs with bright red eyes, because I was, a goth. But we went to the beach one day, a family trip out. Me and my dad went to the beach with buckets and spades, and went, looked at the wildlife in the rock pools, and had a great time, really, just a great time. And then when we got home, I looked in the guinea pig hut, and I said, Dad, they've had babies. And he was like, they can't have babies, they're all girls. But of course, when we bought them, they'd been pregnant, so they could in fact have babies. So we got a bit of a rude awakening there. Lots of research on how to take care of baby guinea pigs was done. And the long and the short of it is, you have to separate the girls and the boys pretty early, and also separate the parents from the young. I don't remember. I feel like there was something if they get something on them, they might eat the baby, so you have to be careful. But yeah, so we had at one point a lot of guinea pigs. We luckily had a run as well as the hutch, so the run was on the grass, and they could. It was a bit on the grass and a bit on the concrete, because it's good for their claws to go on the concrete, or at least that's what we read. And then also we wanted them to nibble on the grass and have a good life, But yeah, so my dad took the new guinea pigs back to the pet shop after a while and demanded a semi-refund in the form of them buying the guinea pigs off of us. But we kept those 3 until they unfortunately died of old age. But they were good fun. Timid little things. They always look like they're surprised, you know. They've always got their mouths half open and their eyes are popping. But cute. So let me know if you guys have any pets or what your first pet was as a kid, if you don't have any now. And I will see you next week with my vlog update, where we won't be talking about too much about my childhood pets. Probably a little bit more about, you know, the cross-stitching I'm doing, which, as you can see, is being very successful. I'm doing lots of cross-stitching, lots of half crosses. My goal is still to get 50% at least, and hopefully 60%. All right. This very rude motorcycle is telling me that it's time for me to go and release you all back into the wild to watch some other YouTuber doing some other video. But I love you very much. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments down below. Have a great week, everyone.